Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another try chapter video. So I'm trying to film 12 of these this year. I'm excited about this one. It's Pride Month, so I thought I would go into my Queer Unread folder, which features mostly romance, but does also feature a few other bits and pieces that I've collected over the years. I will put a video of me scrolling through the folder on the screen and use that to select 10 books to try the first chapter of, and then pick something to read at the end of it. Now, I will say full confession, and there is a long weekend vlog that I don't know if it's going up before this one or after this one, where I talk a little bit more about this, but I was feeling pretty good during the last week. It is a Monday public holiday when I'm filming this, and I'm not feeling fantastic. A lot of the symptoms I had just over a month ago have returned. I was hoping to be feeling and in a better place to film this video and get dressed up and do all the fun things. Instead, I found my flag, and I'm just going to get cozy on the couch and read some first chapters and a book, hopefully, by the end of it. So please bear with me. I'm excited. I really am, because this one I purposely saved this folder for June for obvious reasons. Now, if you have never seen one of my try chapter videos before, I have a whole playlist of them, but essentially I use a random number generator, and we will not be starting with the number 2. That's just what number came up when I opened the app. And we will be selecting 10 numbers between 1 and 47. I do have 3 exceptions. 7, 9, and 41 are all anthologies, and I will not be reading an anthology today. Not because I don't want to read the anthologies, just because I just am not in the headspace for an anthology today, because it just requires a different way of reading for my brain, because there's so many different authors and you're switching a lot. Pretty much anything else is up for fair game. There may be a couple of books on here I can't remember that I may have tried first chapters of before, so I mean potentially a second chance for those books. So to select the first number, I'm going to tap the screen 3 times just to get to book number 1. So our first book is going to be book 28, which is Paint Our Song by Maia, Kinley. All right, next number is 31, which is Prince of Fortune by Louisa Tirreno, who is an Australian author this is her debut YA story. I think it's her debut. I did see her book launch for it earlier in the year. I was there, well, she book launched with another author who I was there to see, and this one was the other co-launch at the same time. So that's exciting. 23. All right, so 23 is technically Invitation to the Blues by Roan Parrish, which is the second book in a spin-off of a series that I'm currently reading. The book that actually comes just before it is the next book in the series that I'm up to. So I might put that one on instead of this one, just because this series, well, I think you probably could technically read it out of order. I don't really want to. What I'll be putting on is Where We Left Off by Roan Parrish, which is the third book in the Middle of Somewhere series. All right, next number is 41, which I can't read, which is because it's an anthology. That is the 10th Muse, which is I think it's is it a sapphic one? Yeah, it's a sapphic anthology, which I do really desperately want to read, but probably not today. So let's go again. 19, which is Mr. Romance by Louisa Masters, which is part of the FU series. It must be the first season of that series, which is an interconnected standalone story set in college. Louisa Masters is an author who I really like her paranormal romances, just because they're really fun and silly. I haven't read any of her contemporary books though, so that'll be interesting. All right, next number is 13, which is Between Ghosts by Garrett Leigh. And I've recently read Garrett Leigh in the Vino and Veritas series, and I did quite enjoy her book. So the next one is 16, which again is from the FU series. With this time, it's by A.M. Johnson. It's called The Glow Up. And there was, at some point, a whole stack of the books in the series went up for free, and I downloaded them. So I got them all at the same time. So they're all sitting in the same sort of number span. All right, 10 is Corrupted Desire by Ryder O'Malley, which is the first book in the Villain series. I can't remember if I've read the first chapter of this one. Oh well, we'll read it again. All right, next number is 8, Stars in Your Eyes by Kacen Callender, which I've been meaning to read for ages. I do love that book number 8 was 8. That just makes me happy. All right, the next book is 47, which is the last book. 47 is Love Me Like It's Real. I think it's Rhys Everly. I can't quite see the author's name because the KU title is over the top of it at the moment. But this one I know has a trans MC. It's part of the Love in Maplewood series that I started earlier in the month, and I'm really excited about this one, actually. All right, and the last book is 14, which is Playmaker by Lauren Gallagher, who also writes as LA Wit, and this is a sapphic hockey romance, which I've been meaning to pick up for ages as well. Alrighty, so I'm going to be trying the first chapter of all of these books and letting you know my thoughts on them. So stay tuned. Alright, so the first chapter of Paint House Song is from the perspective of Miles, who is returning home. He is a painter by trade, and he's taken some leave from the gallery that he works at in order to help out his mum at the family inn. And it opens up, he's been left a annoyed note on his car because he parked badly outside a convenience store. And then when he gets to the inn, he sees this guy in the lot. He's got sunglasses on and a ball cap on, and he goes, "He looks really familiar, but I don't know who it is." And when he gets into the actual inn itself, where his best friend works as the receptionist, he realizes that the guy is the guitarist from one of his favorite bands. And Calvin makes a total fool of himself. So it was kind of cute and adorable in a sort of chaotic meeting kind of way. And next up, we're going to try the first chapter of Prince of Fortune. I won't lie, chapter 1 felt very long, which is not to say it was a bad chapter at all. Like, I'm intrigued because we are in Aubrey's perspective. He is the fourth son, I believe, of one of the local lords in this world. And he and his family have been invited to the palace, specifically by the king, who is his father's friend. And Aubrey in particular has been invited because he's the same age as the king's son, the prince. The king decides they should meet because they're around the same age. And all that Aubrey knows about the prince is that he is different from his family. He's quieter, he's more shy, more reserved. And at the start of this dinner, all the royal family are performing these amazing things to do with magic. And Edmund, who is the prince, his magic is not as perceived to be as flashy as his parents and his other relatives, because he has the ability to help plants grow faster. Or at least that's what he does in this opening ceremony. So yeah, I'm intrigued. Probably not for today. It's a long chapter and there was a lot happening. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by it. Might be one to save for next month for the Australian Readathon. All right, next up we're going to read the first chapter of Where We Left Off by Roan Parrish. Alright, so the first chapter of Where We Left Off is from Leo's perspective. Leo is a character we met in book 1, and he has just moved to New York City to attend college. When he gets there, he finds out that the person he was assigned as a roommate in his dorm has decided not to attend, and he'd been in communication with him, so he was feeling pretty comfortable, and that the fact that he's no longer going to be there and that he's going to be assigned a new roommate who he doesn't know kind of throws him for a loop. So he kind of has a chat to Daniel, who is one of the main characters from the first book, who he's friends with, and kind of wanders around New York for the day, and then decides to call and catch up with Will, who is an older guy who is a friend of Daniel's partner Rex, who Leo has a huge crush on. And he goes to see him, and it doesn't quite go according to plan. And so Leo is really frustrated and kind of leaves. It took me a second to remember where the characters fit in, because I recently just read the second book and it took me a while to remember how that story fit in as well, and that it was actually Daniel and Rex's story that was the first book, because I kept reading the second book going, I feel like I've read some of these scenes before. And it's because I've read them from Daniel's perspective, not from the perspective of his brother. So Daniel seems to be the linchpin of the characters so far in the series. I already know that I like Roan Parrish's writing. I feel like this one is probably not going to be as stressful as the second book was. But yeah, we shall see. Next up is Mr. Romance by Louisa Masters. Well, that first chapter was highly amusing. So we're in Charlie's perspective, and he's out having lunch with one of his friends, who then starts making a fuss at him because she thinks that he's cheating on her with another woman who happens to be in said restaurant. The two women start arguing with each other, and then a guy steps in and says, well, no, he can't be dating either of you, he's dating me. And Charlie is looking and sounding incredibly confused about this entire situation because he's not dating any of them. And then Ian steps in. So Ian must be a friend of a friend or someone that Charlie kind of knows, and just goes, okay, let's sort this out, and kind of systematically works through why everyone thinks that they're dating Charlie while Charlie thinks he's dating no one. And it's because Charlie is very sweet, very clueless, likes to hang out with his friends, likes to buy them dinner because he has access to money that they don't have access to. He likes going for walks on the beach, he likes sunsets and things like that, but hasn't made the connection that when he asks people to do all of those things together that they might perceive it to be a date, despite the fact that no one has used the word date. And then so Ian removes Charlie from that situation and systematically goes through a list of people that Charlie has been friends with, who he has lost contact with, all of whom think that they were dating Charlie and that he has dumped them in some weird way, and so he is no longer friends with them. And Ian just points out, you are clueless, and it states that he's going to take him to see Mr. Romance because he clearly has no idea what's going on with his life. I can tell it's just going to be ridiculous and silly, and ridiculous and silly is not a bad thing. All right, I'm going to read the first chapter of Between Ghosts by Garrett Leigh. I read the prologue and the first chapter of Between Ghosts by Garrett Leigh. This one is going to be some kind of military romance, which I knew from the cover. But the first chapter is from Connor's perspective. Connor is a journalist, and in the prologue we learn that he has been involved in anti-war protests in the past, and that his brother, who was in the military, was killed 3 years prior to the first chapter. And since becoming a journalist, Connor has been trying to dig up as much information on his brother and his brother's death and his brother's role within the military as he can. And so he has convinced his bosses at The Guardian to embed him with a military team. And so in the first chapter, he's arriving, he is trying to figure out who he is going to be embedded with, where they're going to be going, etc. But the person that he is going to be in charge of him is not there yet, a guy named Nat. And yeah, it's more sort of Connor's thoughts about being there and sort of some of the concerns that he has, but also the fact that he's a journalist. He's just curious. He wants to know more. I'm intrigued. All right, so the first chapter I'm going to read is For the Glow Up by A.M. Johnson. All right, so The Glow Up is part of the FU series, and the first chapter is from Chris's perspective. Chris is a student at the university, and he has been crushing on this guy who is in some kind of science stream, he imagines, for a couple of years, but has never introduced himself, doesn't even know his name, but is just enamored by him, and to the point of kind of being a bit stalkerish and knowing his routine and knowing that he's going to turn up somewhere. And so at the start, in the first chapter, he's kind of waiting to see if this guy's going to turn up at a cafe or restaurant or whatever it is. And he does. But he doesn't want to make the first move. And he knows that this other guy doesn't even know that he exists. And that is really depressing for him. I mean, I don't think this one is high on my priority list to read, but it was a very readable first chapter, which I appreciate, because it will be good for those days when I just want something that's readable. Now to go to the first chapter of Corrupted Desire. Yes, so I have read the first chapter of Corrupted Desire before, but it was good to go back and sort of revisit it because we are following Diesel, who is a former villain, and he and a group of other previously convicted villains are at their mandated therapy sessions in a bar. The therapist has learnt very quickly that if he wants to get them to open up and talk about things, that the bar is probably the easiest place to get them to do it. And so that's where they are. But Diesel has just started a new job working in a diner, and the second chapter starts off with him at work. I do want to get to this series, and I think the reason I haven't picked it up yet is because I haven't gone back and finished the Heroes of Vanguard series, which I think is technically first in the timeline. I do want to go through and read some of the superhero romance books that I have, so this would fit in with that. All right, time to read the first chapter of Stars in Your Eyes by Kacen Callender. Stars in Your Eyes starts off with Matt, who is an actor in Hollywood who's just been cast in his first leading role in a film, and he's turned up to the table read a little bit late because of traffic, and he's also really nervous because the other guy who is playing opposite him as the romantic interest for him is an actor called Logan Gray, who is very famous. Matt has looked up to him for ages, but Logan gave an interview where he basically said that Matt was a terrible actor. And so Matt has really taken this to heart. Not to mention that when the table read starts, Logan has a black eye. He's gotten into a fight in public. It's been videoed, so it's all over the news. So it's not a great start to their story. So yes, definitely intrigued. I have read Kacen Callender before and I like their writing, so that would be an easy pick. All right, next up is Love Me Like It's Real by Rhys. Hi everyone, editing Steph here. I mentioned in my YouTube community post, it's been a week, but I am editing. And of course, as I'm editing, I've realized that I have completely lost the footage for my reaction to Love Me Like It's Real by Rhys. It's kind of hard to do a first chapter reaction because I have since read the book and I will be talking about it at some point. But suffice to say, I enjoyed the first chapter enough that I did pick it up eventually. Not for this video, but after I finished filming this one. It is a contemporary queer romance with a trans MC who is a single dad raising his daughters. And the love interest is a dating specialist who specializes in helping prove that love is not real. Like, that's the premise of the story. I can't give you a first chapter reaction because I can't remember what I said in my first chapter reaction, but I lost footage. So, apologies. So the first chapter of Playmaker is from Lila's perspective. She plays defense and she has just been drafted to the Pittsburgh team in the Women's Hockey Professional League, I think it's called in this book. And unlike sort of the reality of the current WPHL, which is growing, this professional hockey league for women currently has 24 teams, and Pittsburgh is one of the newest expansion teams. So Lila's been selected for their team, and so has her favourite player, Sabrina McAvoy, who is also kind of hockey royalty. Her dad and her brother both played professionally. Lila is packing up her home and moving. Her parents are helping her, and all the while she's thinking about the fact that there's this article that's been written announcing that she's been selected by Pittsburgh, but it also announces that Sabrina has as well, and how the article just so casually throws in all of the things that make Sabrina great. And even though Sabrina is Lila's favourite player, she finds it frustrating that despite the fact that Sabrina got married and left the sport, she was able to just come straight back in, while Lila, who has been trying to manage injuries and things like that, is kind of almost an afterthought in the article. So obviously it's going to be the relationship between these two, and I'm kind of intrigued. I really like the writing style. I mean, I've read LA Wit before, or Lauren Gallagher, so I know that I like their writing style, but I'm kind of feeling like reading a sapphic hockey romance because I need more of them. But I'm going to find some food, and then when I start reading, I shall update you on how it's all going. Why, hello everyone. It is now significantly later in the day, but I have finished reading Playmaker by Lauren Gallagher, which is one of the pen names of LA Wit, who also has other multiple pen names for the different types of things that they're writing. I really enjoyed Playmaker. It's an interesting story. I think at the start, I think I misread something in the first chapter. So Lila and Sabrina start off kind of as rivals / antagonists in the first part of the book. So they're on the same team. They both have sort of some preconceived notions about each other, particularly Lila, who thinks that Sabrina has traded on her father's name in order to have doors open to her as a professional hockey player, etc. And as it turns out, we find out that Sabrina's father is misogynistic, sexist, and just downright a piece of trash. And he has spent Sabrina's entire life telling her that she should stop playing hockey. Hockey's not for girls. The Women's Hockey Professional League in the story is a joke, and it's a waste of time, and no one is spending money on a waste of time, which is blatantly not true. And the only reason that Sabrina learnt how to play hockey and stayed in hockey is because her mother went behind her father's back and got her the coaching and the training that she needed in order to succeed. And then Sabrina was married and her husband played hockey and still plays hockey because he's in the book for a little bit and is also a trash human. He basically told her to her face, no, I don't want a wife who plays hockey. I don't want to be married to a woman who plays hockey. And as we find out, is a very insecure little man because he married her for her father's name, and also is just very insecure that she was incredibly successful and that all of the hockey players in her family are incredibly successful and he is mid-tier at best. So she's got a whole lot of trash men in her lives. She also has some really incredible, wonderful women around her. And Sabrina specifically spent a lot of time denying the fact that she was attracted to women. She's not even bisexual, and she just realized she married her ex-husband because she was trying to run away from the stereotype of female hockey players, or a perceived stereotype of female hockey players. Anyway, so in the first third of the book, the two of them really have a big blowout, and it affects both of them to the point where, you know, Lila recognizes that she is responsible for what happened, and so she does make a sincere apology and does seek to get to know Sabrina better, and from then on they become really fast friends. The team that they're playing for, the Pittsburgh women's team, is an expansion team. It's their first season in the league, and the team really just gels. Meanwhile, Lila has some reoccurring knee injuries, so there is a reoccurring knee injury that takes place in the last part of the book. Most of the book is just these two and their slow burn romance from recognizing they're not just friends, they actually are both attracted to one another, and making that work with a professional sports career that takes up a lot of time. And it was a lot of fun. Like, I really, really enjoyed it, which just makes me want to go and read all of the other women's hockey books that I have on my Kindle. I think I've only got a couple, but they've been sitting there for a while. Again, another successful try chapter video. This time I haven't actually removed anything in terms of things that I don't want to read anymore. I did have a couple of thoughts on some things. Like, I've got Prince of Fortune on the audiobook on hold from Libby, so hopefully that comes in next month for the Australian readathon, and then I can read it then. I do want to come back to Kacen Callender sooner rather than later. That's just my preference. And I will be getting to Love Me Like It's Real really soon, because I just recently read one of the books in that interconnected series, and I would like to read some more books because I had a lot of fun with it. And so that's this video done. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around for it. In the comments, I'd love to know if you've read any of these books, and if there's anything that you feel like I need to get to sooner rather than later, feel free to let me know down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.